Hello, this is Awaken to Truth, and I am Michael Smith. So good to be coming to you today with this video. If you have not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you would hit that red subscribe button. And I would also encourage you to please hit the bell, the alert bell, so that you will be made aware of every new video that is uploaded. Okay, let's get into the video today. As you see, the title is 99% of people or 99% don't do this. So hopefully that piqued your curiosity to come here and find out what it is that 99% of people don't do. And if that's you and you clicked wondering what is the answer, I am going to make you wait no longer. The answer is that 99% of people do not take responsibility for their actions. And if you think about it, and if you kind of reflect on the experiences that you have had, you will probably find that while maybe I'm not exactly right that 99%, but that it is certainly a high percentage of people rarely ever take responsibility for the things that they do. And this is kind of going a little deeper. What I mean by that is there's oftentimes in situations where there's not anybody that's 100% right and somebody that's 100% wrong. You might have somebody that's 80% wrong and you might have somebody that's 80% right. But the person that's 80% right is still somewhat responsible for the situation being what it is. And what I mean is if there's a disagreement or if there's a problem or if there is something that is causing strain or stress on a relationship, whether it's a family relationship, a friend, a marriage, whatever, oftentimes the last thing people want to do is to take responsibility for what their role in the problem happens to be. And here's the thing. If you have lived, very long at all, you will find or you will come to the truth or the conclusion that you cannot determine what other people do. You can't determine if another person takes responsibility for their actions, even if they're 100% in the wrong. You have no ability to determine what somebody else decides to do. What you can do is you can evaluate yourself in every circumstance, in every situation that might arise where there's some tension or there's a problem, whether it's a boss you can't get along with, whether, whatever it might be, the chances are you might have some role in the problem. Maybe it's not even a big role. Maybe it's a minor role. Maybe the other person is the biggest part of the problem. What the most difficult thing for many of us to do is to look at that and say, you know what? This person, I believe, is wrong here, here, and here. But there are some things that I could have done to have made the situation a little better. There's some things that I could have, some routes that I could have taken that might have headed off some of the problems that we're having. You find this in churches. You find this in work environments. You find this in school. You find this across the board. And it's human nature that we want to blame someone else. And it goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. What did Adam do when he was confronted with what he had done wrong? He blamed Eve. He said, well, she's the one who made me do it. And then he kind of blamed God, and you're the one that gave her to me. So as you see, I'm kind of in the clear. It's you and her. If it wasn't for you giving me her, then I wouldn't be here. And of course, that's a horrible excuse and it's ridiculous because he's responsible for his actions. Did Eve have a role in it? Yeah. Did she force Adam to participate in her foolishness and in her sin and in her disobedience? Nope. Adam did it willingly. He chose to follow her in that, but he also chose not to take responsibility for his actions. Another great scriptural example is King Saul. You think about David and Saul. David certainly didn't have a pristine record. If you really read through the First and Second Samuel, and if you read through the Chronicles, at least the parts of the Chronicles that deal with David, and you find and you read all of the stories and the things of David's life, at least that which we know, you'll find David didn't have a pristine record. He had some problems. There were some times that he clearly did some things that were not right. But yet David was called a man after God's own heart, and Saul was rejected and the kingdom was taken from him. Well, one of the biggest differences that I can see between David and Saul is that when David was confronted with his wrong, David repented and turned from that wrong. When Saul was confronted with his wrong, Saul didn't take responsibility for it and oftentimes blamed other people. And I think back of when, I think it's First Samuel. It's definitely First Samuel. I can't think of the chapter off the top of my head, but Samuel told Saul to wait for him to arrive before making the sacrifice. He was supposed to wait on Samuel. He got anxious. He didn't wait. He made the sacrifices. Not only that, there was another time that he did not obey because he didn't get rid of all of the livestock and the sheep and the spoil that they had taken, which Samuel had instructed him to do. He actually, kept it. And so Samuel confronts him again. Well, why did you not obey the Lord? And Saul says, well, it wasn't me. It was my men. They're the one that wanted to keep this stuff. It's their fault. And so therein lies the biggest difference between Saul and David, is when David saw his wrong, he admitted his wrong, and he repented of his wrong. When Saul was confronted with his wrong, he blamed other people. Most people you will find will go to great lengths not to take responsibility for what has happened. They will create alternative realities in their mind that keeps them from taking responsibility and facing reality. And really, it's a form of denial and it's a form of delusion. And while all of us have the tendency to do it at some degree, we need to be open and aware that if we're honest with ourselves and if we're honest with the Lord, that He's going to shine the light at times on us to where we have to recognize and admit, I could have handled that differently. I should have done this differently. But oftentimes we only focus on the things that we don't like about the other person, and we take those things and we use them to justify what it is that we've done, when really we should be looking at what we've done and not worry about what's wrong with the other person. Just as Jesus said, you're really concerned with the speck in that person's eye, all while being perfectly fine ignoring the plank that's hanging out of your own eye. And so that's something that all of us have to be aware of. And if you will begin to do this in relationships, in situations, maybe it's somebody that you have to be around on a regular basis and you kind of can't stand being around that person. Chances are that, maybe they're doing something that they could change. But the truth is, you can't change them. What you can do is you can change you. And what I have found is there are times, not every time, but sometimes when I am kind of have one of these relationships where I just butt heads with somebody, that the times that I have kind of stayed stubborn and refused to see what my role might be, that relationship has done nothing but spiral downward and get worse. The times that I have been willing to admit my wrong and take some action to correct it, some of those times, the other person has softened their position and we've been able to get along with each other. Now, there's times you're going to do it and the other person may not do anything. But the truth is, you can't control others, but you can control the way you choose to handle each and every situation. So I hope that this was something that was beneficial to you. I hope you'll take this biblical principle and let the Holy Spirit help you to put it into action in your life. And I can tell you, your life is going to improve if you're willing to look at yourself, examine yourself, and figure out where you're playing a role and allow the Lord to help you to fix it so that you grow and so that you don't face the same situations time after time after time after time. Because doing something once That's okay. Doing it over and over, I think that's the definition of insanity, when you do the same thing over and over and expecting the result to be different. God bless you. Thank you for taking the time to watch today, and I'll be back with another video very soon.